He's like, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He goes, what is with this machine? It's the Pendulum. The kid's got good legs and everything. He goes, I've never used it. I'm like, no one does. It sucks. Yeah. Don't use it. You'll hate it.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 87 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Of course, Dusty Hanshaw, myself, Ron Partlow. And on today's show, we got a bunch of Instagram questions for you. And, an open look into our lives on It's Just Bodybuilding. There you go, Dusty. How's that for an intro? I'm trying to make us sound welcoming on that one.
But you know what threw me off? And I'm concerned. You dropped the big. You just were Ron Partlow.
Well, I wanted to experiment with it because you don't have an extra word.
Okay, I was gonna say because just because you're riding BMX doesn't mean I want you dropping the big.
No.
You're still 250 pounds.
I just skipped it today. Maybe if I would have said your middle name. That's three words, and then I could have added the big on mine. It would have flowed. I was just playing with it, Dusty.
You could throw any word in front of me that you think is accurate, and people might have some fun with it.
I have a small bit of poet in me. Comes out once in a while.
Every now and then it comes through.
Remember, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, comment, and remember to spread the word that there's no more Advice is Radio for the audio. It's Think Big on YouTube like it's been, but it's also the Think Big Bodybuilding on all the RSS and audio feeds. So if you're on Spotify, it's Think Big Bodybuilding, all that stuff. So if you can't find the audio, that's why. So Think Big Bodybuilding. Right, Dusty?
Seems simple enough. I like the name better anyways.
Yeah, me too.
Who used to do that was I don't even know if you know who this is, but the natural bodybuilder Skip LaCour. He used to do the Think Big he wrote a book called that.
Oh yeah, I remember
Fun
that.
fact. Yes, I have.
I can see the cover of it in my head actually. That's funny.
You have seen that was the first seminar I ever went to was him. And I totally dug it, and I credit him to a lot of the simplistic mindset I have because he was all about eat your fucking food, eat your fucking food, eat your fucking food. You know what I mean?
He was a Gold's Venice legend.
Was he really? See, I didn't know that.
I thought, didn't Skip LaCour train at Gold's Venice?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I literally have no idea. I met him here.
Yeah, I thought he was one of those guys for a long time. But, that was the magazine era. It kind of made us feel like they all lived and trained there.
Right? Because that's where the pictures came from.
That's where the pictures came from, right? So you read the article, you see the pictures, you're like, it's Gold's Venice.
It must be where he lives.
Meanwhile, he's in Des Moines, Iowa.
Exactly. He was there for 3 days. He shot every body part.
A year ago.
For a year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is with the old magazines. I stopped doing shoots the very first year I started them unless I could control the content. Because they would have me like, okay, now do this. I'm like, I would never, ever do that. But it's for the article. I'm like, but I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I did one shoot like that, and I was
I did too.
I don't want to do another shoot like that. I did a shoot where they're like, okay, hold the dumbbell, and I'm like, I wouldn't do this exercise. And they're like, yeah, it's an arm training article.
Remember, we actually did 2 of those because one time with Mutant, someone tried to pull that shit with us.
Yeah. It was video though, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was video. That went over just about as well.
Yeah. We wound up getting it done our way, Dusty.
Yeah. Well, tell them why you're taking the wide grip because my fucking shoulders are too wide. Is that the answer you're looking for? I can't reach the narrow one.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not why. I'm like, no, that is why.
Yeah. Funny. It's funny.
That's precisely why.
I know. I did a shoot one time. It was, just holding the deadlift bar and all that sort of stuff. And, it's one thing if, like, I remember we did a shoot where you had your hacked up t-shirt on and you actually, like, we put some weight on and you were pulling like singles, I think, just to get good photos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we weren't like holding the bar 2 inches off the ground and pausing for photos.
Yeah,
right?
no, if anything, I felt bad for the photographer because they literally had me pulling 600 pounds one time, many times.
Yeah.
But he had to catch that shot. One rep, and they were normal reps, so it was a full speed thing. The only thing we did that shoot that I remember, because I kept fucking it up, was they wanted me to slam the bar down when I was done.
Right.
And I don't do that. So I literally, multiple reps, I forgot, and I put it down.
Like, put it down.
I was all ginger, and she's like, "Hey, dumbass, I only asked for one thing."
Right. I need the visual. I need the impact.
Because there was a video shoot happening at the same time. And I thought she was going to smack me. She's like, "You can't possibly be this dumb. I just need you to drop the bar."
That's
I'm
funny.
like, "I'm sorry." I keep forgetting. So how's life, man? What's going on in Vancouver-ish?
Well, we're like, I don't know the scoop on everybody, but it seems like we're like the only province. I guess Saskatchewan still has their gyms open. But yeah, it's Canada's having a real shit time right now with all this stuff. There's a whole bunch of places closed. They're doing crazy curfew in Ontario. You have to be home by 8 p.m. or something like that. And then the premier, who's just a disaster out there, he said, "Oh, we're going to extend the powers of the police to pull you over and check your reasoning for being out of your house. Like, they don't need a reason to pull you over anymore."
That is the reason, because you're out.
Yeah, that's enough reason. Like, we're going to allow them to do this. And then all the police, it was 36 out of 49 police agencies in the province, immediately tweeted out on their Twitter, "Yeah, we will not be doing that."
Yeah. We do not have the manpower to just be fucking pulling you over.
They're actually saying we don't have, like, that's like, there's a lot of stuff with mandates, but that's actually just plain illegal.
Nice.
Like,
that's good.
Like, we're not doing that. No one has to worry about us pulling them over for no reason. If you're speeding or you run a stop sign, then you're getting pulled over, and you might ask why you're
breaking the law. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And there's a curfew, so you might get a ticket for being out if you don't have a good reason. Right. But we're not just pulling anybody. We're not stopping people on the street. That's not going to happen. So they came out and said that on Twitter. So it's like, just makes the premier of the province look like a fucking idiot.
You would think that you would run that by. Like, if I'm controlling a lot of little things, I'd at least be like, "Hey guys, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Are you going to back me or no?" Because if they're like, "No, fuck you," then I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, like, you're the police chief. You're eating breakfast that morning, and he's on the news, and you're like, "No,
that's not happening." That's a cute idea. Not fucking happening.
Yeah, I am going to get Dusty Hanshaw to come to your house and beat you up, and you're sitting at home eating like,
"I got no problem with that guy."
I'm not fucking doing this. Yeah, so just a bunch of crazy shit like that, and
do you think that there's a chance that Canada felt like, "Wait a minute, those fucking US people really showed us up being stupid. We got to try to beat them." So you guys started doing stupid shit? Because, we had like a good 6 months where we were just doing dumb shit every day, and you guys were confused.
Yeah, well,
it's slow.
Am I back?
You're back.
Froze for a sec. I think that Canadians got really cocky because, like, Canada was doing good and the States was a disaster because of Trump. Right. And then now places shutting down, third lockdown, closing gyms, and you guys got states that are open and a bunch of stuff going on. So I think a lot of people, feeling look a little stupid right now.
It's a little backwards. It's funny. I'm here and I forget because, like, number one, I haven't been doing anything for months, but we opened, like I told you a couple episodes ago. And the only thing that's changed, which I have no issue with, is places are welcome to uphold their own rules. Yeah. So you can require a mandate in your gym if you want to, or in your place of business, and that's perfectly fine. And I have no issue with that. I just won't go there. So, exactly. which I think is totally cool. And a lot of places here, I also like, which I think is smart. If I still own my business, I would actually hang up the thing that says suggested. And the only reason I say that is because I'd be more concerned of the people who want to wear a mask feeling like they shouldn't. Like,
right.
Because a guy like me doesn't give a shit. I see suggested, I keep moving. I'm like, yeah, I'm not wearing a mask. Yeah. But I don't want people who want to feel like, oh, I shouldn't go here and spend my money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of the businesses that I frequent on the regular have a sign that says suggested or welcomed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a few of them are still upholding, like there's a Thai place I go to. I've went for 26 years, literally. And I walked in the other day. It's about a 6-foot walk to the counter, and I could see my food that I had ordered. And she was like, "You have a mask?" I'm like, "Nope, but I just need the food." And she was like, "Yeah, okay, we're still having to do the masks." I said, "Okay, do you want me to buy the food or no?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "No problem. I won't come back after this, but I need to know if I should leave now or if you want the $70."
Right.
Like,
good for you.
Very simple. And then moving forward, like I have no issue with it too, though. Like you're welcome to do that. I'm just not going to come in anymore.
That's all I'm about. Free choice.
Yeah, no, and that's how I feel.
Run your business however you want.
Yeah,
you can be a cunt if you want. You can force people to do shit. You can force people to wear purple pants if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Like I wouldn't even mad. I'm like, cool. When this stops, I'll be back. I still love your restaurant. I don't want to do that, and it's ridiculous. I'm walking in, literally grabbing a bag of food and walking out the door. No, I don't want to do that. So, and it's funny because the Starbucks I go to, Starbucks is very democratically owned.
Yes.
So the place I go to, they bring it to my car. I pre-order on my phone all the time. When I pull up, they just walk it out. I don't really want to do this. They're like, "Oh, no problem. We'll bring it out to you." I tip the kid every day.
That's cool.
Everyone's a winner. He makes a little extra cash. I don't get out of my car. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely nice here. I went to, where the hell did I go? Fort Lauderdale. In Florida, everyone said was open. Apparently, depends on where you are. There were Nazis there. It was fucking unreal.
Really?
Yeah. I went into places. I mean, and it's funny because I thought the whole state was open. I thought they were more quicker along than us. Everywhere we went, there was, you want to go in, do you have your mask? I'm like, fuck. Sure.
But it's technically not mandated by the government. It's the businesses that are choosing to do it.
No, I think that city, because it was everywhere. There was nowhere that we went that wasn't that way. And I wouldn't have cared, but I was actually blindsided because I had heard that Florida was open. And I mean, I'm talking grocery stores everywhere.
That's probably state laws. Like there's no state law about it. It's probably local.
Yeah, it had to be. It was super weird because I wasn't prepared. And like you said, I have no issue with some things. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't have no issue, but it is what it is. Like, if I get on an airplane, I understand. Right. This sucks. But if I want to fly, then just don't fucking fly. You know what I mean? But I was blindsided because I didn't know that about there. And I'm like, oh, I would have picked Miami. I was on vacation. I didn't have to come here.
Right. Fuck. Okay.
I would have just spent my money somewhere else. But, it was all good. But yeah, it was definitely shocking because I thought it was statewide. But they're trying to do that here too. Like Tempe wants to bring in the mask rules again, which is a city in Arizona, but they're not enforcing it. Like they're strongly suggesting to businesses that they do that kind of, which means down the line they'll enforce it because of course all the businesses are like, oh, okay, well, they're just not going to do it. It'd be like if I said to you, Ron, I really think you should, start wearing your shirt backwards every day. You're like, oh, okay, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very similar, but yeah, all good. The only thing going on here currently that's not my favorite is I don't have allergies, and I got hit by allergies like 2 days ago, and I was like, fuck, this is why people hate these things.
Right.
Like, I have no idea what happened. We didn't have like a change in temperature, wind, nothing. I woke up in the middle of the night like someone was, squeezing my head in a vice. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this sucks. People are right. I don't like this. But
are you sure you don't have the COVID?
I probably do. Actually, I got to say, if this was COVID, I'd be like, you guys are pussies. This is no big deal.
take some allergy meds. And if they help, then it's not COVID.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I had to take allergy meds, which is funny because then I find out that, I take the one the first night and I didn't look at it. It's allergy, cold and sinus, perfect. Pop this. I'm like, I feel good. And then that night I'm like, man, I'm really not tired. I'm like, oh, it's all the pseudoephedrine that was in there.
Yeah, you have 25 gigs of ephedrine in your system. Yeah, it's hard to sleep on that, buddy.
Take that shit at 11 p.m. because I just wanted to make...
You're supposed to take the blue one at 11 p.m., the nighttime formula.
Oh, dude, it was so funny. I'm like, oh, well, I don't sleep anyways. It's fine. The dogs are like, what the fuck's going on? This is worse than usual.
Yeah.
We're going to the park. It's midnight. Let's do this.
No, well, that's something you don't want to do. I took a microdose mushroom tab yesterday.
What'd you think?
I didn't notice anything.
No, you gotta do it repetitively. So I get the chocolates, and each bar is 3.5 grams, and they're like a Hershey. They're all broken up. So now I just take 1/2 of those every day, 1/2 of the little bar, like a Hershey's cube.
Right.
And I don't.
How many milligrams is that of psilocybin?
Would that be? So it's 3.5 grams divided by 12. So a 12th of that.
3,500 divided by 12.
Yeah. So whatever that number is, I do that every day. I don't feel it, but it does help me not want to beat people to death.
Oh, that's always helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do that, but I do feel it a lot on the daily. How much is that?
That's 292 milligrams of psilocybin.
Yeah.
Right. So it'd be like just over 1/4 of a gram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I took 150 milligram capsule.
What I took would be a lot for most people, but I use it every day, so it's good for me. I don't see the effects. Whereas when once a month I do 3.5 grams all at once.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Oh wow, it's been a long time for me. No, I just took the one cap, and I was like, a couple hours later, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I took that cap. I guess I didn't feel anything.
That's the point. You shouldn't. Like if you're microdosing correctly, you don't even know you're doing it, but you might just notice. Because for me, it's just, I mean, you've been enough around me. Little things make me irritated. I'm like, I'm doing that.
You are easily my most irritated friend.
Yeah. So it numbs that. So I'm safer in the gym from giving the look that I give all the time. Like I'd be fearful if someone filmed me the entire time because there'd be so much of.
Yeah. You can't hide it. You're very bad at hiding it. You have other skills, Dusty, but hiding your annoyance
that is not one of them.
It's something you've just never really shared it.
Maybe because I followed up with what the fuck was that out loud? Yeah. That might be an issue too.
Yeah. And then of course it's always funny when I notice someone gets to the end of your threshold because you go over to them and you go, "Let me talk to you for a second."
Do you want to know what's great?
Then you walk off to the side with them and you lean on something. And you have a little conversation with them, and I can tell that it's not going to happen again.
I have to tell you a funny story about that. With
Not that I've seen you do that 3 or 4 times.
Never. So Aceto and I are having a conversation in Tampa a couple years ago. Just talking. I don't even know if we were talking bodybuilding, maybe a little bit, And this kid comes over and just joins the conversation.
Right.
And we're like, that's fine, I guess. But he keeps saying dumb things. And he says something like, well, it's a science. And Chris, of course, goes, I don't like science. I like results. So that was like strike one. And I'm like, oh, boy. And he was annoying me. And finally, I'll never forget, all calmly, Chris goes, hey, could you stop talking? And I was like, oh, shit.
Chris told me a hilarious story one time. He got on an airplane. It was on his way home from one of my shows.
Okay.
I go, how was the trip? And he's like, oh, as soon as I got on the airplane, this guy sat beside me and just wanted to talk. And I was so fucked. I just had my head on the window and I just had to look at him like as the plane was taking off. And I was like, can you not speak to me at all?
At all. I love that he tossed him the at all.
And the guy was like, oh. And then Chris just went back to sleep. So he slept the whole flight. It's so funny.
If anyone's ever worked with Chris, he knows that 4 days equals a good 17 minutes of naps per day.
Right.
And that is the end. I mean, I used to wake him up to go look at me real quick. And I would knock on his door. He'd be on top of his bed, all of his clothes on, sit up, run you through the shots, hair a mess. And he's like, fuck, you look good. Can I get a coffee?
He combs his hair the way Jordan Peters does when he's at shows.
I'm out and buying my headband now that I know how that works.
That's funny.
That was the greatest part of our entire show. I don't care what anybody else says. The only value was when you were like, oh, you combed your hair. He's like, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't. I'm fooling you. We want to thank everybody for the feedback on that one. That one went over really well. Everyone seemed to like it. And, got a lot of views. And Jordan really had a good time. I messaged him after and all that. So, what's your feedback on that?
Feedback, of course, was phenomenal. But I had no less than 10 people request that we bring on. How do I say her name? Corinne?
Yeah, Corin. Yeah,
Corin. So I posted asking her, and she said if she gets the Olympia qualification is the only way she'll feel qualified to do this show. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit. None of us are nearly as good as you, but okay.
That's funny. Yeah, so I'd love to have her on.
Oh, I would too. Slightly intimidated because she's not only a better bodybuilder than all of us, but also stronger, which sucks. So I kind of hurts my soul. Eh? Like that's the only thing I have in this world is that I'm strong, and I'm like, but not as strong.
Like, oh, she's only doing 4 plates. Oh, those are skinny plates. Oh, she's 9 plates. Oh,
yeah. And then then you do the math. I'm like, oh, yeah. So
I would be using 5 or 6.
So that's me deadlifting 1,000 pounds. Oh, okay, I can't do that.
It's funny.
No. So, but no, I would love to because he also said, he tells me all the time off record that he thinks she's a better coach than him too. She's like her clients are fucking nuts.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I imagine she gets a very hardcore clientele.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't even understand weakness. Like I love when he posted about that because he put up one time. Somebody asked him dumbest question you've ever been at, or Corinne's ever been asked. And he said not a question, but I don't suggest anyone ever use the word flat in front of her.
Right.
That does not get you a good answer during prep. If you say, well, I'm flat, that's not going to go well for you.
I think that people need to jettison the word flat from their vocabulary 95% of the time.
Oh yeah.
And I just want most people to know that when you say, oh, I'm flat, and you show someone your pictures, chances are they think you sound like an idiot. You're probably not flat.
When a client tells me they're flat,
probably not. Yeah.
What I hear is I'm hungry.
Yeah, and also what I hear is, oh, the diet's kicking in. Okay, that's good. Let's do this for
you don't look any different.
Let's do this for months.
Plus, you can be a pancake the whole prep.
I don't care.
That's the thing is if you said to someone straight up in the beginning, do you prefer we look really good during the prep or the day of the show? That's not a hard answer, but for some reason during prep they're like, I'm flat. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. Your hair's messy too.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have a tan on.
Yeah, you should shave.
And you're not done dieting.
Yeah. And you're still fat because you're not supposed to be ready yet.
So I wanted to bring something up. I was very impressed, and I think maybe this will help our case. Ooh. You know how we haven't been able to get Dante on the show yet because he doesn't really like to do stuff?
Public speaking, yes.
He put a video up.
No, he can do videos, though. It's different.
I know, but I still think...
He did a whole series with me for 5 hours.
This was all on his own, right? Doing the incline press and doing the exercises and stuff. And I thought, man, is he getting out of his shell? We should throw him another note.
You're getting false confidence. I will keep asking him though. You know what's funny? So this just like with Chris. So Dante,
remind him that it's pre-recorded.
That's the thing. We can throw it away. We won't. We'll lie to you, but we just won't let you see that we post it. But yeah, no, we talk every day, and I laugh because we never talk about bodybuilding.
Yeah,
like everything is investments, and because he's helping me a ton with different things. So it's like I laughed. I'm like, I wonder when's the last time we spoke about bodybuilding. And then today he messaged me some training things to look at. I was like, oh sweet, finally, we're back to this again.
We always talk about blood work. He always sends me like, look at this, and it'll be like this terrible blood work.
I've stopped sending him my blood work because he laughs at me because I want it perfect, and he's like,
right. He's like, you're fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. I will say though, I think I forgot to mention this on the last show. My blood work was good. Mm-hmm. But there are a couple things I wanted to be better. Like for example, my HDL was 1.00, and the lowest that you want it is 1.00. If it's 0.99, it's low.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
So I was in range, but I wanted it to be better. And then there was.
But what about your diet is having you short? Then you're just not getting enough.
Sorry.
What about your diet is that?
Nothing.
Then?
It's just how my body sits. He said my diet's fine, but he added some supplements a while ago. He's like, this might raise it, and I was like, okay. And then I got my blood work back, and it's 132.
Now you're happy.
I'm like, oh, now it's up. thanks.
good.
And he's like, yeah, no problem. That works every time. You know,
70% of the time works 100% of the time.
Yeah. It was like, so that just, there's just been so many times when, you know, I know Dante's not a doctor, you know, and all that stuff, but man, the results are crazy. Like he has manipulated a single thing on my blood work with supplements. Like I'll be like, oh, my GFR is 70. I think I want it higher than that. He's like, oh, do this. Next blood work, my GFR is 93.
No, he's done that. When I was going to a guy locally,
he fucking knows what he's talking about. It's crazy.
Oh no, so the guy I was seeing locally, who's an endo, I told him some of the things we were doing, and he's like, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't give a shit that he's not a doctor, because he had on a couple occasions asked me, what'd you change? And then I tell him what Dante had me do, whether it was supplements. I do a lot of flax seeds actually now. And that was something he was like, oh.
Yeah, so I told my doctor I was taking quite 3 grams of astrologus a day for like the last year.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And like my numbers are almost past blood work. I only mentioned a few, but like they're all great. Like this is possibly the best blood work I've ever had in like long time. And I said, oh, I'm taking a bunch of astrologus. And my doctor, who's got a hormone clinic upstairs, he's a really smart guy. Yeah. He's like a good doctor, you know. He goes, oh yeah, I've been hearing there's like some value in that. So it's like he's way ahead of the other doctors. He's got you know, the clinics and stuff, and he's just getting on this stuff.
Yeah, which we've been doing for years.
And Dante's like, you know, years deep with hundreds of people that have turned their numbers around on their blood work and stuff. So, and also I have to mention, I had a good friend of mine who sent me his blood work a couple months ago, and like it was like 6 months ago now, and his kidney numbers weren't good. Like his creatinine was high, his GFR was under 60, it was like 58, and there was just a few things on there that were like, oh, this is
that's sharply off.
Need to look at this, right? So I sent his blood work to Dante, who replied same day with like a list like this. Mm-hmm. Didn't charge a thing. I sent it off to my buddy. I was like, give this a go and do this.
Yeah, trust me.
He did it, and he got blood work again, and it was like, I can't remember if it was like marginally better. And then a few more months went by. He got blood work again. Everything's in range.
You know what the problem is too, that Dante switched with me. Even though I worked with him prior to this, was I used to do my blood work 8 weeks after cycles, when things were drastically on the way to better.
Doing them normally, yeah. And you just want to just do them normally.
So now I do them in the heart of it. Like, okay, where am I at when I'm at my worst?
Yeah.
And that's the numbers you want to see, particularly if I blast and cruise. So I'm on during prep, I'm on the whole time, but even like in this next plan of mine, I'll be on for the majority of 6 months. Yeah. You know, on and off, but more time on than off. It does me no good to know where I'm at when I'm off. I know where I'm at when I'm shit. Yeah. So I wish more people would do that. I do the same with my clients. They're like, okay, when should I do the blood work? I'm like, today. We got 2 more weeks in the cycle.
Right.
Tomorrow. Like, let's get to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I've questioned a little bit, which we haven't talked in, and I'd love to do live if we get him on, is another friend of mine, Will, who's literally a scientist. He doesn't believe in changing anything. Like, you know how you don't train for 3 days before blood work and stuff like that? Because his answer to me is, how's that normal for you? You're never not training in 3 days. So wouldn't the most accurate blood work be right in the middle of training? And I'm like, there is something to be said for that. Even though I understand what it does to the numbers. I understand the bun and you know what I mean? Yeah. But I see what he means.
There's also, though, it is also important to see, like, let's say you're training hard, like you smash legs and you go in and your CK level's like 1500.
Right.
So, okay, you just smash legs. That's probably why it's high.
But you want to know if you took 3 days after that, what would it be then?
It is good to know that.
Yeah, exactly. What would happen
if you take a week off training and it's still 1500, it's like, oh.
Yeah, now you're fucked. That's very valid. Very valid.
It's contrast. But, you know, it also comes down. Some people have to pay for their blood work and stuff too, right? So there's also like, you know, they gotta make sure they just spread it out evenly and get it done a few times a year. You know, make sure you're generally good.
Yeah.
What do you think of? I can't help but hope there's a little bit of a spark in this. But you see Hollingshead on the inline skates?
I did, but I have a few things, and this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt a little bit. So number one, I hate seeing it because he's not me. If I fall and hurt myself, nobody gives a fuck, and it doesn't alter my career. I'll have a new story to paint on the internet and be good to go. It scares me to see someone of his talent doing that. And then the other thing that's funny is because he's getting back into it, his skating stride is terrible. So watching him skate hurts my soul.
Because you're a hockey player.
Yeah. But again, in rollerblading is different. I will say that.
Yeah.
But on the flip, his mobility blows my mind. Like the fact that he can even commit to those things this quickly, I'm like, damn. Because I mean, I think about everything I do. Like if you said, like, even when I saw him fall, the first one he put up, I'm like, oh God, is he okay? Open. Okay, he's up. Okay, we're good. I mean, I consider myself like this fragile little thing now. If I were to fall down, like I don't know what would break, but some things I'm pretty sure would, you know. But yeah, no, it is cool to see though, and I am noticing more and more guys. I'm blaming you. You have started a trend.
Well, I
don't give a shit that you're retired.
I don't need.
Started it.
I'm not trying to take credit. I just wonder. I'm hoping there's a little bit of a spark there that caused a few people to get back on some stuff. I know there's like some normal Joe guys that have messaged me that are like, "I'm 48 and I'm fucking building a skateboard because of you." I've had a few.
Guess what? I mean, and I'm not saying it's direct, but I don't give a shit. I believe it has a hint. Santi went out and bought hockey equipment again, and he's playing. He's going to start. He moved to Dallas. He's going to start playing hockey 3 nights a week as a way to do cardio. Now he already had made sure it was crystal clear. It's a no checking situation.
Yeah,
but I'm like, dude, just randomly like. I mean, it's and you know this. It's kind of like you. Like you don't just go buy a little equipment. He dropped a couple grand.
Yeah, he's gonna get good stuff. Yeah, that guy might have built like the best fucking bike I could build.
Yeah, and see, and he hasn't played since he was 18.
Yeah.
You know, but it's funny because I saw him. He posted a video just stick handling in his living room, and I'm like, it's still there.
Oh yeah,
you could see it. Like it's rusty, but it's still there. His hands still know what to do. I was like, oh fuck, you know, I could definitely see this slowly starting to kick in. You know, but you know, what's funny is on the flip of what I just said about Hollingshead, I also think like live. Like, it's funny because I have so many kids come up to me and they don't want to do anything because they're bodybuilding, or, you know, I don't want to mess up my bodybuilding career. And I'm like, it's a ballsy use of the word career.
Yeah.
It's a pretty loosely used word right there. Like,
I know. All I have to say is from my own experience of getting back on the bike, Hollingshead just needs to make sure that he warms up really good, stretches out. Because I remember the night I tore my hamstring, I just went for like a quick ride in my parkade. I like didn't really warm up. I just wanted to go down.
Like downstairs and started riding.
I just wanted to pull a few tricks that night because I didn't get to ride that day. I was like, fuck, let's go ride for like half an hour, and I wound up hurting myself. So just make sure you warm up, stretch out, you know, the hammies and the adductors and the calves, and, you know, do some jumping jacks and make sure he's warmed up, and he'll be fine. Another thing is his strength. You know, he's such a durable, like, he's not a dainty body.
Yeah, no, yeah.
He's like bone density, tendon thickness. Like, you could just see there's probably just a DEXA scan dream there if you were to look at everything on him, right? So he's pretty durable when it comes to just falling down from like standing height. As long as he doesn't start airing out and stuff, I think he should be okay.
Well, and the nice thing is too, just like what you're doing, it's not explosive. Because I can tell you, so a few years ago, I was big, you know, like 240-ish or whatever, in prep for a show. And I decided to start doing bleachers again for cardio, which was fine. I did fine. And then I got the itch to do some sprints with some friends that were there. They're athletes. And I'm like, I know I'm faster than all of them, and they would have never guessed. So we did like 40 yards, and I smoked them twice. And they were like, Jesus, are you? And I'm like, yeah, I have fast twitch muscle. I fast. Third time hamstring, boom.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
3 steps in, because the
Yeah.
muscle is too strong. It's just, you know what I mean? So it was funny because in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm still an athlete. Like I was stunned, actually. I knew I was faster. I didn't realize it'd still be that fast. And then when my hand went, I'm like, what am I thinking? Like these muscles aren't made for that anymore.
I had a guy explain to me why hamstrings are such a injured area when it comes to bodybuilders sprinting. It's always a hamstring. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he had kind of a neat explanation for it. He said, well, the primary function of a hamstring, if you think about what a human does to survive, the primary function is to decelerate the extension of the leg while you're running. Right. So like, you know, it's really easy to curl your leg back to get your heel to your butt. Right. That's an explosive snap. But then your quad extends your leg at maximum speed, and the hamstring's job is to catch it. Right. So that you don't land with your knee hyperextended.
Valid.
Right. And then you blow your ACL or whatever the fuck you blow. Right. So the hamstring's goal is actually catching the front leg being extended. So it's a deceleration function. And that's not how we train in the gym. We're lifting weights, lowering them under constant tension. We're not dropping them and catching them.
Right.
And that effectively would be something that you could train your hamstring to get better at.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So
we train not to do that anymore.
Yeah, we're constant tension, whereas it's actually like is no tension, and then it grabs it and stops your foot from going too far. So you just said the hamstring just operates a little differently under normal circumstances. So when we go to do something like run, we haven't been training that function at all.
It's funny too, because in your brain, as you're telling me this, that's not at all what my brain tells me happened. Do you know what I'm saying? And I now understand I'm wrong, but it's funny to look at because you're thinking it's because I'm going, but it's actually because it can't stop my leg fast. Like, you know what I mean? It's
what
an interesting
happens
thought.
Is as the leg extends and you plant your foot, that's when the injury starts to occur. It's stop, and then all of a sudden you command the hamstring to yank you forward, and that's when it goes boom. You know.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what I get scared when guys are on like a preacher curl and you see them drop the negative and then pop the pop. Like, oh fuck, that's gonna stop doing that. Like you're daring that muscle to tear. So it's funny. It makes perfect sense. But it was definitely a wake up, and I think about that less per se, but like for me in hockey, I think it would be the same, or it'd probably be an adductor. I don't know how they fire in comparison, but
I guess with a hockey stride, there's more quad glute involved too.
Oh, for sure.
Because with sprinting, you're kind of pulling yourself with your hamstring, you know?
Yeah, it's not front and back. It's almost a 45-degree push, but definitely fun to see all these guys doing it. And what I do like, as much as it scares me, is the exponential growth in his ability in like 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Like, first, I just had to remember how to skate a little bit. Okay, these are back under me. And then by like the third video he put up, I was like,
what's up that little back grind?
Yeah, I mean, it was drastically better. I mean, and I know that, kids that skate are probably like drastically better than my ass, but in comparison to what he was 2 days ago, it's like you could see it coming back. I saw your video, I think it was last night that you posted, it was Sunday. Yeah. With you nailed the trick you hadn't done since you were a kid, but it's funny because I don't know the sport at all, but it literally in my brain looked perfect. I was like, God, that was so smooth.
Yeah, it came off good. So the funny thing was, I started trying that trick again like a couple months ago, and I got over the top a few times. I had like one fall, and then I like kind of bagged myself once. And then I had like, big bruise on my adductor one time. I was like, hey, I'm going to hold off on those for a little while.
Get a little close.
I'm not good enough to do those yet. Like, cause I used to do them all the time. So the temptation is there to keep trying them. So I put it away for a little while. And then, I guess a few months ago, about a month and a half ago, I started doing them at the end of every session. So I'd ride for like 2 hours. And when there'd be like 15 minutes left, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to try a few of those and just get comfortable trying them. And, I had some close calls, but they just weren't happening. And then that night, I was riding, and Emily actually wanted to come and hang out because she had the dog and she had her computer, and she's sitting on the lawn and drinking her Starbucks, and she's just in heaven, birds chirping and shit. And I'm riding, and And I go, hey, you ready to go? And she's like, yeah, anytime you're ready. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to try this trick a couple times just because I haven't tried it today. And landed, I think it was the fourth one.
Right.
And then I just threw my bike in the truck and we left.
Like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah. And I always turn my camera on because I knew I was going to pull it like randomly one of these days. So I set my camera up and the video was only like 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. So I like...
You literally went for it 4 times and called it a day.
Yeah, nailed it like the 4th time. I was like, okay, fuck, awesome, finally. Got it.
Going home with this victory.
Yeah, I go home on a high note, you know? So.
Yeah, see, I would have been, you know, it's funny because, of course, the whole time I was wondering, and now I'll be curious when you go back out is, I almost feel like you'll definitely get it again.
Yeah, that's how it works. I'll probably nail it. How it works is you nail it once, and then the next time you ride, you make yourself get it one more time. Right. And then the next time you ride, maybe you get 2, you know?
Right. Until you keep something you always get.
Yeah, you know, so it's just kind of, and then once you can get it, I guess, like I asked my buddy the other day, I go, what do you consider wired? And he's like 5 out of 5.
Right.
You can do it 5 out of 5 times. It's wired. You're ready to like throw it into a contest run or something, right? That's how they think.
No, you would get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh shit, that's tough. There's not a lot I can do 5 out of 5 times.
I can't do any of this 5 out of 5.
I got a few 3 out of 5s and stuff. I can do a few of my, you know, like, but it's tough. Those guys are so consistent, you know. It's just like anything. It's like doing a set of squats for 10 reps. How hard is that for you? You can do it 10 out of 10 times, right? You know.
That video you put up with that guy that you said was like your favorite style blew my fucking mind.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to people who don't watch Ron shit. You should probably follow him on Instagram so I don't ruin your life, but it was impressive.
Yeah. So he was like, that guy's a very fascinating individual. His name's Chase Gwynn, Gwynn. It depends on how you say it. But anyways, he's actually from Windsor, Ontario. And there was a point in time where he was like the greatest flatlander on the planet. And he was like changing the game and doing stuff no one was doing and progressing. And it was like through the mid 90s. Mm-hmm. And he was actually homeless during the period of time when he was like one of the greatest riders on earth. He's a very unique guy. He's not a normal dude. Yeah, I know, in a weird way. He was like locking himself in a shed under a skate park by the beach, and it was just a loaf of bread and his bike, and he was like sleeping on a fucking patio furniture mat set. Like, and he did that. He lived in Portugal homeless. He lived homeless in Europe for a while. All he had was his bike. And he would ride 8 hours a day, and he was like reclusive and very, very unique guy. I've read some interviews with him and listened to some awesome interviews. He's really cool stories, but you know, he's got near death experiences and some crazy shit that he saw traveling the world, and no money to show for it. Now, like, just normal dude, you know, but he still rides every day, and it's just a crazy story. But in the mid 90s period of time there, all those video clips of him are just so fucking nuts. So
I think that's awesome. I love to read or see that stuff. I'm getting into that now, of like autobiographies and stuff like that with some of these guys. I just heard, which I haven't started it yet, but I guess Kiedis's book is insane. Like his life.
Anthony Kiedis?
Anthony, yeah.
Well, didn't he do one called Scar Tissue like 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, I think so. But I guess it's supposed to be just like his life, from what I understand. How he's not dead is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I literally, when I was on my trip, that was actually something that Nikki was like, oh, have you read this book? I'm like, no. And now I have to. Like, she gave me a few hits really on it, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to read this shit.
And also, I'm excited because Brian Johnson, the singer from AC/DC, he's putting out a book called The Life of Brian.
Oh, God.
It's a take on the Monty Python movie title, right? It's The Life of Brian. And so I'm really looking forward to reading that because he's such an interesting dude with the race car driving and, you know, being a singer in the AC/DC for 40 fucking years and just like all the stories he must have. So I'm looking forward to reading. Rockstar books are good. There's a handful that I've been through that were pretty good. You know, I like Rockstar documentaries too.
Well, I like it because with a lot of them, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like,
no.
I mean, that lifestyle will eat you up.
You should for those of you, I think it's on Amazon Prime, but there's one on Slash that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like they interview all the people that kind of grew up around him and Like, it's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, I read. I mean, it's so funny because it's so long ago, but like, I even remember when Rodman's book came out when he was still in his prime. Like, I was like, because I loved him as a kid. It makes sense that I grew up the way I did because he woke up. I mean, basically, a lot of people don't realize that was always his personality, but he didn't know how to let it out. And literally, Madonna met him.
Yep.
And was like, "Oh, be you," and like unleashed him more or less. And then disappeared. I mean, she made him millions just by saying, "Oh, well, just fucking go off the deep end then."
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. Have you heard, Jim Jeffries, the Australian comedian?
Yeah.
Have you heard his story about his wife?
No.
Oh, so his wife used to be a model.
Right.
And he's got a funny joke where he's like, my wife was a model, and everyone's like, oh, and he goes, relax. I didn't get the model years.
I fucking love it. Hold up. Don't get ahead of yourselves.
Because I got the later years. Like, he said, but anyways, he's like, I guess one time his wife was just like casually telling him a story and he like starts putting stuff together in his head. And it turns out his wife was kind of friends with Madonna at one point because she was a model. And Madonna was living got a house in Florida.
Right.
And Madonna was banging Rodman. So Rodman had a friend who played for the Heat.
Right.
And he was banging her. And one night they took too many drugs and drank too much booze and had like a four-way.
Right.
So Jim's like, imagine me trying to put this together after I've already married her or whatever. You know what I mean? It was just funny. But yeah, it's in one of his stand-up specials. Off about it is fucking classic story.
I love that a comedian's like, this is a rough point in my life. This is definitely a part of my gig now. We're taking it there right now.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to having stand-up comedy again. I have to admit how jealous I am. I look at Instagram and I see Joe Rogan doing stand-up shows in Austin with Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? I had Rogan tickets,
Yep.
They got canceled, like that sort of thing. So I'm really looking forward to having those shows back because I think I said it before, but the last normal thing I did before COVID was I went and saw Bill Burr. So
at least you went out on top. I mean, that's one of the best you could have possibly seen, I think.
Mm-hmm. So what do you got? You got a lot of questions. I know you have a lot.
I'm sure I do now since we spent another hour just talking about it. We always do this. I tell people and they don't understand. They're like,
Why didn't you ask my question?
No, they're like, you guys flow so well. I'm like, oh, we forget you guys are here. Ron and I are just having a conversation. You guys help us with material. And then I'm like, oh, you guys watch this later? That's awesome.
I still sort of assume every episode we do that doesn't have a guest, I still sort of assume that Scott's going to message us after and go, that one didn't really come out good. We can't post it.
You guys talked about nothing for 2 hours. It's a waste of our time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a very inside look on exactly what dinner at Earl's sounds like.
Yes, exactly.
You guys have all had dinner at Earl's with us now.
Except when we eat together in person, there's a lot more of like, hey, watch this, and where you actually show each other our phones.
But I apparently have about 200 questions, so we should get to work. I gave it 3 hours, Ron, and that was
damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for watching another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media, and thank you to our great sponsor, TrueNutrition.com, for making this all possible. TrueNutrition.com is owned by Dante Trudel, the creator of DC Training. He wanted to create a supplement company that offered high-quality, third-party tested supplements at a fair price. High-quality protein powders, just about every type you could think of, huge variety of flavors, plus health and performance supplements. Check them out, TrueNutrition.com. And hey, if you use our code ADVICES, you directly support our podcasting. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the program.
I need to bring that down to an hour, I think. But anyways, so let's get these things popping.
Okay, fire away.
This is a great one to kick it off with. My client, Casey. Perfect. What's the biggest difference you see between local level clients and national level clients? Yours. Like, I'm assuming we're meaning what gets one from one to the next?
Well, I guess it's hard to say. A I mean, obviously they have more experience, so there's less, less simple questions, right? Because they have more experience, they've done it more times. But it's, the mental approach to it. I mean, by the time you get to nationals, you've either had your ass kicked already, or you have won, so you know what it takes to win. So there's like one of those two have already occurred to you, at least one of those two. And it usually just changes your mental approach a little bit, makes you a little bit more solid and locked in, Yeah. You know how when you have like entry level clients doing their first show, like there's like all like a little bit more chaos usually in their mind.
Yeah, I've found, and it's funny, and I'm going to be specific, and I don't really care if you realize who it is. I've got a guy who's actually really talented, older guy, but he wants to dream way too big right now. Like I'll get the email out of nowhere that's like, what do I got to do to turn pro? I really want to make sure. And I'm like, no.
Right.
You have that plan. Yeah. Execute it every single day. Like, because that's literally, I think, what will get you to the highest level. Like, I'll be honest, I think not everybody, but a very, very high amount of numbered people can go compete at the national level and not get murdered. I didn't say win, but not embarrass themselves. But the key to that is consistency over time. Like when I won my first overall in 2008, I said to myself, I looked at the pro or the national level. I said, okay, I'm not there yet. And I put my head down for 2 years before I looked up.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it. I just grinded. And then one day I looked at my pictures and I was like, oh, I'm one of them.
Right.
Okay, now let's look at what a show is. You know what I mean? So I think the difference is consistency over time, obviously. And then I think you plan for it. I knew what I wanted to do. I was not someone that saw the value in competing many, many times because I knew how to do it. I wasn't worried about committing to the diet. I didn't care if I was in shape. I didn't need titles. I needed to turn pro.
Right.
So I did a show in 2008 and I did not do another one until I won junior nationals in 2010.
Yeah.
In fact, in hindsight, I didn't even qualify for that show.
Yeah.
I just jumped in. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. And, I just told someone yesterday I trained for 7 years before I competed,
So you did. So you did do the same thing. You just did it even more quietly than me. You trained as a bodybuilder. So when you started competing, you compete every year because it was time.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when I first competed, I was terrible. And then I did a show 2 years later and I was decent. That was how I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were very good when you started competing. So that makes sense.
Okay. Go again.
Do you see a problem using Splenda in moderation during prep?
No.
Everyone knows my answer. I didn't even know if I use it in moderation.
No, just fucking, it's like a non-concern. Doesn't even cross my mind. Never crossed my mind. The only time it would ever be an issue is when you find out that some client is drinking bottles of syrup and eating 3 packs of gum a day and drinking a gallon of diet soda. And you're like, oh, you're upsetting your stomach with all this stuff. But as far as putting Splenda in your fucking coffee and using protein powder that has Splenda in it, and like, I don't know, don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I'm using, so the last couple of days when Chris pulls the water down, the only thing I drink is coffee for my liquid. Because I find that drinking anything cold, I drink so much, it's hard to drink 6 ounces, 8 ounces with a meal. But if it's hot coffee, it's easier for me. But I have a Splenda every single time with it.
Yeah.
So 6 times a day, I'm drinking a pack or 2 of Splenda the day before a show or the day of a show.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. So yeah, I'm the same with you. Don't think about it. And like you said, if I have a client that's hit a wall and I know in my soul that they're doing everything they're supposed to do, then I might start working backwards. Like, okay, what do I not know? Mm-hmm. And that, like you said, that's when you find out, oh, you're using a half a bottle of It's Not Butter spray a day.
Yeah,
well, that's 450 calories. Okay, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But that's it. So
okay. Yeah, I agree.
Some, or you want me to just keep popping these
No,
off?
that's yeah, just keep firing. You're doing good.
This is awesome. It's so easy. Oh, that's an interesting one. Why does my elbow hurt when squatting? Everyone says that my form is on point. What do I do for the pain?
Well, there's something tight through the tricep or forearm.
Yep.
So he's got to work on some sort of flexibility in the long head of the tricep. I would put, the hand overhead, stretch the tricep out stuff. And then also he's got to do get his wrist mobility better, try to loosen up the forearm. But I'd say it's tricep / forearm tightness in a squat position. He could also just walk his fingers out one finger, you go a little bit, try a little bit wider grip or something.
Yeah, try that while you're handling the actual problem. That way you can keep squatting.
Yeah.
Agreed 100%. Oh, God, that's good shit. I like the ones that I don't need to ask, but they're funny. This guy says, want to help me form a super army to fuck these shitty governments for closing the gyms?
We're already on it.
Yeah, it's already been handled. Here's an interesting one. Does libido impact training progress? I hate when I don't have enough information.
No, fuck your brains out. Enjoy life. You should have as much sex as you can possibly have there.
I agree with that. I always like when people used to say that. They're like, oh, sex is bad for the legs. I'm like, I wouldn't know. They're like, oh, you don't have sex? I'm like, no, I don't not have sex.
Yeah, just take whatever you can get at all times.
Yeah, you might have a dry spell. I've heard of those. Never seen one, but I've heard
You
of
never know when a drought is coming, Dusty. Fuck your brains out.
Here we go.
I will also say that I have had sex a few times between the morning show and the night show of a contest.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking about in that situation is the tan. I'm like, all right, let's just make sure we get this fixed. But that's cool.
No, some doggy style involved.
You get creative. You get creative.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Hey, you go to the night show pretty relaxed, man.
You don't have all that pent up.
You take your poses.
It's like the rule on making
on
decisions.
Your face. You got all that, all the good brain chemistry going on. Just float in there.
You got to do something with that time.
Yeah.
I actually follow that logic. I do.
Dries you out a little bit.
It does.
about 10 mils worth.
Sodium dropping. All right. May have to have back surgery. Please tell me it's not the end of bodybuilding for me.
Ronnie Coleman had back surgery in 1996.
There you go. There's a piece of data I didn't even know.
That's his first back surgery. That's where it all began. And then he won 8 Olympias.
So was it the end for him or no? I'm not following. He did okay after that surgery.
He did okay. Yeah.
You know what it is? Truthfully, is it depends
I don't recommend the other 20.
Yeah. That's where things fell apart.
The one went well.
Which, speaking of, and I had to do this because I sent it to you last night. So Ronnie Coleman now, if you guys go to his Instagram, is offering a service, I'm going to call it, where he will do a voice note / video note for you for your birthday or to pump you up before.
Yeah, that's an app that there's all these celebs on. It's the celeb app or whatever. Yeah.
I puked in my mouth when I read that. Because here's where my brain went. Number one, he used the word small. What was a small fee of $300 fucking dollars to do this. Now, number one, I think my finances are well above average. $300 is not a small fee. I don't just toss $300 out the window for shits and giggles. So that's asinine. But and you just said there's an app for it, so maybe a lot of people are doing it. But my brain immediately went to, if I'm ever that hard up for cash that I'm thinking of using my past successes as a way to make $300 for a note, I've made some fucking errors in life. I just don't. Literally, my heart sank because I'm telling you right now, Jay Cutler ain't ever going to do that ever.
Right.
I'll bet on it. He could prove me wrong just to take my money. I just can't imagine me being like, oh fuck, don't forget I gotta do those 3 videos for those guys. I have people do it all the time. I mean, I'm not Ronnie and never will be, but someone will say at an event, you know this, hey, my boy couldn't make it. Can you say something for him real quick? Fuck yeah. You imagine I was like, yeah, absolutely, $300.
Yeah. It was interesting, dude. I was a little surprised. I need to look into it more because I know that app that he was talking about has a lot of celebrity type people on it doing that stuff. But they also do that kind of stuff on OnlyFans. So it's a little weird.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, and again, it's a different mentality, I guess, but it just, as you know, I sent it to you. I sent it to Scott. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know why it bothered my soul so bad, but I'm like,
no, I can see why. What I could see how you. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
It just seemed like desperation to me more than a service. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just
it makes you wonder, like, who suggested it to him. You know, I don't know.
And I mean, maybe he's perfectly fine. I mean, and he's just making some extra cash. But I guess I don't see that a ton different than a lot of other things that people consider bad for doing. You know, that they never live down. And I'll tell you, which I'm sure I don't know if you clicked on the link, but the fans are tearing him up on it.
Oh, no, I haven't looked.
Yeah, so it might be gone by the time you look today.
Okay.
Because literally they were like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, a lot of people read it the same way I did.
Okay.
So either they all see it like me or they need to work on how they present it. Because I'm not exaggerating, 70%, like every, 2 out of 3 comments were not good.
Okay.
Maybe even more so than that. So yeah, it was definitely a toucher.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Oh, that's nice. People are liking that.
Go for it.
What do you season your ground turkey with?
I use either High's seasoning salt or Lowry's seasoning salt. Depends on whichever one they have at the supermarket. But those are my 2 favorites. And then I put some Frank's Red Hot sauce in while I'm cooking it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my favorite blend.
Yeah, mine's real basic too. Sometimes I'll make it like a taco. You just use taco seasoning is a go-to. Also, I'll use the Sloppy Joe mix. And
I've never tried that stuff.
And I actually make it a little runnier like you would with Sloppy Joe. Not runny, but a little more. I think it's actually really good. It makes it to the point where I'm like, fuck, that's decent.
I'm tempted. Okay.
Yeah. So I like these kind of questions we have. Oh, this is a good one. Do you ever negotiate your services for other services, bartering, like with your barber? He's asking me specifically.
Oh,
you?
No, because no.
I'm waiting for this now. You're laughing, so I'm like, fuck, where's this going?
I don't really want anything from anybody. I don't know. I'm open to the idea, like I'm open to the idea, the concept, but I just like to keep things clean where I just pay you for your thing. And then you just pay me for my thing.
Yeah, no, I do the same. I don't trade.
I could see the benefits, like taxes, and there's all sorts of stuff. It was on a larger scale.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm going to buy $10,000 worth of your services, and I have this $10,000 thing that you want. I would be totally in for that.
That makes more sense. Yeah, nothing. Then it feels like nothing happened. But no, to answer the question for what I do, because I think it's probably also the way they see with my presentation on the internet is for my barber, Courtney, I do her preps, but it's number one, it's 2 different things. So I just don't like bartering. I don't like keeping track. I don't like keeping score. I charge more per month than I use. Plus, I factor in other things. Her business is younger than mine. I also overpay. So, like, on purpose, she argues with me every single time. I pay her double what she charges because I want to. That to me is, like, if I lived in where you are, I would pay for a membership even if you didn't want me to. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's $50. I'm going to pay you. The only time that gets different is friends with businesses that are on my level where me promoting them is worth money, where they know that. Like, to have my name attached to marketing is worth money to them, then we can barter that part of it so they're not paying me directly. Right. So like when I had the dogs trained, I didn't pay full price, but I sold a lot of training for them.
Right.
When I got my truck done just barely, I've, with that ceramic coating, I think he's gotten 7 trucks out of me. So we do that. But as far as payment, I'm with you. I just like it to keep it clean. I pay you, you pay me, because she won't need my services and I'll still need hers. So we just keep going. At some point she's not going to be in prep, or she'll decide she's got the off season under control. Well, my beard is still a fucking mess. So help me out every week.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I just say I don't like keeping track of shit.
Yeah. And I hate feeling like I owe someone. That I struggle with. I would much rather if someone has to be on the upside, but it's not you're not getting fucked. I'd rather that I gave a little too much because I feel weird if I owe. I'm like,
yeah, like I saw, like there's all these little things that I've seen, like I've seen, Emily, I've seen my girlfriend, maybe there's a girl, I'll just make something up so it makes sense. Like, oh, she does my nails, so I'm going to give her 3 sessions.
Right.
Or whatever. I don't know whatever, 2 sessions. I don't know what the fucking nails are worth. But then the girl cancels one of the sessions because she can't make it because her kid's sick. So now does Emily owe her another session because that girl canceled like half hour before the session?
Yeah. They get sticky then.
She'd normally charge a client for the late cancel. She'd ding her a session or a half a session or do something.
Yeah.
But now this girl doesn't actually have any money into her, so does she have to give her another session? Like there's all those little things, and now you got to keep track, and it's just I fucking hate that stuff. Give me $50, okay? I'm going to give you $50 back. There you go. Like,
yeah. No, I'm with you. I look at the same as like, especially with friends. I look at it like going to dinner. Like Ron and I, we don't split bills, and we also don't keep track of which one's higher. You just rotate every time, and in half time we forget. It's
kind of fun little lottery, and then every once in a while you get a Wendy's bill, and the other guy gets a steakhouse bill, and you make out okay on that trip.
Exactly.
That trip was
literally,
okay.
That's how you function. I think when you get to this point, it's like I just don't want it to ever be weird, or because a lot of people too, if they feel like they are owed, they won't even tell you.
Right.
So it's like, no, I don't like to do that. Money and friends is tricky for me, so it stays all on the books.
It's like the other day we went to eat, and Braden and I go to pay, and Braden goes, I think it's my turn to pay, and I go, I'm taking the pizza home. So I'll pay.
Yeah, but that's coming with me.
Yeah, because there's like half a pizza left. I was like, I'm taking the pizza home, so I'm going to pay. And then you can maybe do 2 in a row or something.
That's fucking gold. You're like, this is for me for later. I don't really care the order. But yeah, so that's the answer on the business thing. Okay, let's see here. 4 to 5 pound drop in weight, and my strength dipped randomly with no change in my diet or training. Thoughts?
Well, this is like, I'm such a non-answer guy. My answer is like, bodies do weird things sometimes. There's a lot of variables. Check your water intake, check your sodium consistency. However, obviously your diet and your meals, what weighs a lot? Water, food. That's going to affect your weight a lot.
Right.
Did you switch to a shitty bottle of drugs? Were you on prescription testosterone and now you switch to a bottle of cheap underground that has a fucking wizard on the label?
Nothing wrong with a good wizard.
Nothing wrong with a good wizard. Remember the old Mexican Tokyo that would have like a Rottweiler on the label and stuff? It was just fucking crazy. Oh man. Anyways,
what was it? The Sid group had the kangaroo on it because it was Australian. I'm
the on gear. Yeah.
Are Australian kangaroos juiced up? I don't know what's happening right now.
They got the juice up. Yeah. But no, it's I can't remember what I was talking about now. The image of kangaroos boxing, just like
I just fucking ruined your world right there.
Totally ruined what I was talking about.
Where am I right now? I'm sorry.
Where am I right now? I think I answered your question, did I not?
Yes, you solidly answered, and then we went on a tangent like we do. Nothing shocking there. They're never going to let us have a real show. Let's just, this one hurts. And what a great question.
Okay. Painful?
Get ready. This is painful for me.
I'm ready.
Fuck, marry, and kill. Okay. Pendulum squat, hack squat, leg press. By the way, I love this game. I do this all the time.
Fuck, marry, kill. That's extreme.
That means one's gone forever, mister.
Well, so this is me currently.
This is you right now, yeah.
Okay. Given the body I have now, given the lifestyle I lead.
He's a BMXer. Go ahead.
And all that fun stuff. I would marry the leg press.
Ooh.
I would fuck the hack squat.
And
I would kill the pen. And that's like sacrificing one of 3 equally hot Playboy playmates.
Yeah, you couldn't lose, but you couldn't win either. You had to kill one of them.
Yeah, I guess I'm just sort of thinking because like the leg press and the hack squat are both more versatile.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was thinking of these two things in my head, or these three things, the hack squat is my least favorite. The leg press is my least favorite, but it's the most different.
Yeah.
So it stays, and then it became down to the pendulum and the hack squat. And the only reason that I lean toward the pendulum is because no one's ever using it.
It's the busy gym blues.
No one's stealing that. It's funny because I had a kid ask me yesterday. He's a good built kid in the gym. He's like, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "What is with this machine?" It's the pendulum. The kid's got good legs and everything. He goes, "I've never used it." I'm like, "No one does. It sucks. Yeah. Don't use it. You'll hate it." No, but I told him, like, "You'll love it." I said, "But it's bad too. I have 7 plates stacked on it." And I'm like,
"Yeah.
But don't get confused. It'll kick your ass. So maybe start with one." Let's ease into this. It's, so my answer would be, I would marry my pendulum because she's loyal to me. She's not using other men. I would fuck my leg press, and I would have to kill the hack, which probably shocks people. But I've already killed the hack because I broke the one in the gym. We just had to fix it. So
yeah, there you go. Oh,
Jesus. Sorry, we're on a roll right now. Love pendulum squats, but I get lower back pain on the heavy sets. Any technique tips? I'm going to answer this quick because it's easy. You are starting to squat up. And a pendulum is a natural arcing movement. All you need to make sure you're doing is that your hips, i.e. your upper ass, stays on that pad. So instead of pushing up, push your hips into the pad. It will go up. It has to. You're also going to be stronger that way.
Yeah. He's just doing something mechanically wrong with his pelvis.
Well, he said it's with his heavy set, so I know what happens. Same thing happens with everything else. Somehow people get away from their form when it gets heavy, which is funny because it's contradictory to being strong.
Do you think he puts his feet too high and he's rounding his pelvis at the bottom? Is that what he's doing?
Might be. So, yeah, make sure that's another factor. Is the higher your feet up, the more ham glute you are.
And the more you round.
As you come down, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't think anyone needs to be any higher their toes than 2/3 up the pendulum.
I put the ball of my foot in the top crack.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So my toes are on the top third, and the rest of my foot is on the middle third.
Yep. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And every pendulum pretty much has that, so that does make sense. Yeah, I find it's funny because I'll see people go, "Yeah, but it's better for the glutes." I'm like, but there's a squat would be better than the glutes. Than this.
Yeah, glutes are so easy to train. Like that's the thing. Like every leg press and hack squat and everything hits your glutes, and then you get to the pendulum, and it's like it has that. I try to make it feel like I'm doing a leg extension.
Exactly. That's exactly.
It's really tough.
It's almost if you control it and you're mentally connected, I can make my quad fire, which is very similar to an extension, like a sissy squat. I can feel it stretch and contract in that way. So yeah, but that's funny that 2 in a row were that. That's so funny. Your mind is fucked up when someone says favorite X and your brain goes, wait, and then it says to grow rear delts, like, exercise.
Favorite X.
I was like, well, what are we talking about?
Yeah, favorite how?
Favorite exercise to grow rear delts and how often?
I don't think rear delts are complicated. You just have to, first of all, be able to feel them, train them, load them. I keep thinking back to when I started training. I remember everyone they'd see me in a tank top. Like when I was young, like from the age of I started training 14. So like all the way up into my mid 20s.
Yep.
Everyone who saw me in a tank top would be like, you got really big rear delts. Like they were the thickest muscle on my back. Right. And I remember all I learned how to do was standing, bent over, dumbbell,
rear laterals.
Laterals. But the style that I was taught was kind of like heavy, like how Dorian does them in the video, where he's got a little bit of a fucking yank, but there's still a good negative, and you see that chunky movement, as Leroy says.
Right.
And his arms weren't straight out. He wasn't using like 30s. He had like 65s or something, but he was driving his elbows back.
Yeah, it looks almost like a fly press. that I do.
Yeah, like a reverse
reverse
fly press. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you watch Dorian in the Blood and Guts video and he does those heavy dumbbell bent laterals, that was all I did for rear delts. And I remember like at an early age, I had bodybuilders go, "Oh, your rear delts are like, they're fine. You don't have to worry about them. You're not going to have problems with your rear delts." You know what I mean? So
I think what it is the same as a lot of guys is even people who ask, it's like calves. People are always like, "What's the secret to calves?" And I literally want to say, train them. You don't fucking train them. I know you don't.
right.
Like, because people will push their calves for a little while and then they'll bail on them. Train your calves consistently really hard for 3 years. They'll get bigger. Like, I know that sounds silly, but it's literally so much thought goes into something. I'm like, if you want to hit your rear delts, you just nailed it. Do that to failure a couple sets every week.
Yeah.
They'll grow.
Yeah.
Because I don't think rear delts are hard to connect with either. I mean, you absolutely know when they fire. It's like a contraction.
I remember someone asked, I can't remember who it was, if it was Dave Tate or one of the powerlifting legend guys,
Mm-hmm.
And someone was like, really at the end of the day, what's the key to getting a big squat? And his answer was squat fucking heavy once a week. There's all sorts of other stuff to it. Maybe they're doing a light day, power day, speed day. But if you don't squat heavy once a week for 10 years, once a week for 10 years. That's what he said. Squat heavy once a week for 10 years.
It's funny because it's so simple, but it's so fucking accurate. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
get in there.
Make
sure it happens. Make sure it happens every fucking
I had a guy
week.
ask that the other day. He was like, how do you get stronger on your deads? Because he wanted it was rows. How did you get your rows so strong? I'm like, I rode. The
thing that a lot of people don't have the patience for is, so, we all go through it, man. It's nothing's linear, and so they're like, well, I want to get my incline dumbbell press up. And sure, they have that. It's all fun and games when you're getting, the hundreds for 8, and then the next week you get a hundreds for 9, and then the next week you get the 110s for 6, and it's all fun and games. But you have to be able to continue to train your ass off and stay focused and positive for the 10 weeks in a row where you are stuck at the 115s for 7.
Yeah,
and you can't quite get that 8th fucking rep. And there's other good stuff going on in your life. Maybe your row goes up a rep or whatever, but you just can't get that fucking. And then all of a sudden, because you didn't skip and you didn't quit, you get the 115s for 9.
Yeah, well, I think it's also it's the patience of going, because I had my pec issue tear. I just hate using that word because I think it's torn off the muscle, but minor tear that took away all pressing. So we get in the new shoulder press, and I'm like, I think I'm healthy enough to do this. I went up to 5 plates, and it was humbling because I haven't pressed in so long. 5 plates, I only got 6 reps, and they were a hard 6. And it was funny because I had a lot of people like, holy fuck, that's so strong. I didn't know how to say, like, actually, that was terrible. And I'm nervous / curious on how long it's going to take to get that number up where it should be. You know what I mean? So, but you know how it's going to get there, just how you said it. I'm going to do them again and again. The only difference is I have limited equipment in the gym I'm at, so I will use that piece again next week, but my low rep range will be higher.
Right.
And then I'll come back in 2 weeks down to that 6 to 8 range, and I hope that I'll be getting 8 with 5 plates aside instead of 6. But yeah, it's consistency, man. It's funny. I just literally 2 weeks ago I went through an old phone because I'm giving it to someone to use for a camera, and I wanted to make sure there's no videos I wanted on there. All the porn I already had, but training videos. And I actually saw a video from 2018 where I was rowing with 315 for a set.
Right.
And I was like, God damn, it was shocking to me because now I don't even have my straps on with 315. I'm just kind of getting moving now. And I'm like, that. And it's funny because it's a long time. It's 3 years, but it's a short time to almost double the weight. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, damn. That's interesting. But you see, I think it's funny when you get older in bodybuilding, 3 years is a short time.
Yep.
If I told you now, in 3 years, you're going to be a beast, they're like, 3 years? What about tomorrow? Like, how do I do that in 3 months? Okay.
So I'm going to take a quick break to plug my laptop in because
I did that last week during the show. You guys just didn't notice.
Yeah. I got to go find my plug-in.
Oh, geez, you didn't know where it is. What did he say?
I had to go find Emily's power cord because she took mine. Boom. 1%. No lie. 1%.
I thought I was, as you were gone, I'm like, it's going to hang up while he's on. I hope Scott's
crept
still
up
here.
on me. Crept up on me. Yeah, we're good. We're powered up.
Beautiful. All right. Then I'm going to get back to my question. I got distracted. I'm like a child. I have to immediately go see something else.
We have covered that many times. How
no one's questioning that you're a child.
No one's questioning that you're like a child, Dusty.
Just stop already. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I'm back. Hold the tread on stairs. Hold the tread or... Oh, this is a good one, and I love this kid. Thoughts on not holding the treadmill or the stairs, the handles, but the legends in bodybuilding have still come in rips doing it. Well, for me, treadmill, number one, I don't let people hold on to. And the reason I tell them that, it's really simple. Why do you want to do it? It makes it easier. The other thing is, if I have you on an incline, holding, you can literally take away the incline by changing what your body is.
Holding the treadmill is nonsense. I could see like having your hands on the rails of the stepper the whole time, though. There's like a little bit of a safety thing there for like. If
you're not pushing off.
No, as long as you're not.
I hold it
as long as you're
time.
not doing the tricep thing.
Yeah, but yeah. So, and as far as here's the deal. I hate when people point out legends, and the reason is they're not the same as you. So throw that out the window. I think that's a huge thing, and people always think that we're joking, but I don't even understand the logic when someone says to me, hey, why do you deadlift that way? Phil Heath never had to. I'm like, we aren't the same at all. Like, or in reverse, they'll say to me, do you think Phil should have trained like you? I'm like, so he could have more than 7 Olympias? So he could risk injury that he doesn't need to risk? The risk to reward for him isn't there.
Right.
Whereas for someone like me, it's a must. So don't ever compare to freaks. And quite simply, if you don't hold the handles of the treadmill when you walk, then if you have a good coach, you might find yourself doing less cardio. Because I adjust my cardio based on the results. So if I have to keep cranking it up because you're making it easier, and I don't know, like I was taught, and I'm going to bet you were too, if you're on a treadmill, because it's not the same as propelling your body walking. My old coach used to make me squeeze the glute of the back leg every single step. He's like, I want you to fucking fire that glute and hamstring like you're pushing off of the treadmill as you would be if you were walking on that incline up a hill. Because it's totally different. If I put you on a 10% incline on a hill and said walk up that fucker at 3.4 miles an hour, you'd go, oh, that's not what it feels like on a treadmill.
No.
You're not propelling your body, you're lifting your feet. It's very different. Oh boy. You're answering this one all by yourself. Yari, I want to kill you. Bananas post-workout. Do you think they're more beneficial than other fruits?
I would never cross my mind. Those are the type of questions that never crossed my mind once in my lifelong quest to be a pro bodybuilder.
And of all the things that you've actually put thought into, and I'm teasing, I love this guy, but the reason I point that out is because it's such a common misconception. Like, I'll get questions that are super, super deep about drugs or something else, and I'm like, what did you eat last Tuesday for lunch? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, I can tell you what I had 10 years ago for lunch on Tuesday. Because it was the same thing I had on fucking Wednesday.
So here's an interesting addition to that question.
Yes.
The question was post-workout.
Also an interesting factor I didn't even catch because I didn't care. Yes.
Right. And that's why my answer was I wouldn't care. Pre-workout, if you were going to say pick a piece of fruit to have pre-workout, I would actually choose banana because it's high in potassium.
Right.
And that goes really well with the gram of sodium I'm going to consume with that meal. And it'll give me a good sodium potassium pump.
You know what's funny is I'm even more simple than that, because if I was going to say banana, I'd be like, that's a little heavier when I eat it, so maybe won't be hungry during the workout. That's why I use oatmeal before I train when I'm in prep, because oatmeal, I can make a small. When Chris brings me down like 50 carbs, I always just choose oatmeal because I can make it a bowl of oatmeal.
Yeah, it still sits in you for a little while.
And I want some volume. I just want my stomach to feel full. Nothing magic about oatmeal. In fact, I don't even like it. It's just the most filling option I have. So yeah, but yeah, you nailed it. It's funny. I get that all the time because post-workout, I'll tell guys, take 100 grams of carbs. So I go for what? I'm like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Eat 100 grams of carbs. They'll laugh because remember, you probably didn't watch, but back in the day, I used to drink strawberry soda after I trained. And people were like, why strawberry soda? And the truth of the matter was Chris told me to have 75 grams of carbs. And I found there was a bottle that Fanta made that was 76 in the bottle.
Oh, right.
And I like the taste. So people are like, why strawberry soda? I'm like, it tastes awesome.
That reminds me of Nasser's old video, Nasser on the
Sun-kissed. Diet Sun-kissed.
He's driving out. He reaches out the arm of the SUV as he leaves the gym. He's like, diet Sun-kissed. Drink
it's
the secret.
It's terrible that I remember that too. Don't tell him it's the secret.
And he has that. He's post-workout and eats that giant container of papaya.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just like papaya, so I have it post-workout. And then I remember one time I was like, oh, fucking awesome. So I went and bought papaya. I was like, I don't really like papaya that much. It's not my favorite fruit.
I'll follow you on this.
I can eat a pound of strawberries. I can't eat a pound of papaya all at once. That's a lot.
But that's a perfect example, like you said. And he said it right in there. It's because I like it. I think that's the key. I tell that with my clients on there. When I say potato, they're like, which one? I'm like, which one do you like? Okay, eat that one consistently, but don't bounce all over the fucking place.
Potato.
Yeah, get that one. I like the gold ones. Why? They're cool. Okay, let's see here. What time is it anyway? So we got a couple more minutes. I don't actually know when we started because we fucked off for so long. Oh, okay, cool. I have to do this one without you. Guys asking about Humislin, which is a product that we have with Condemned Labs. Says, talk about it and tell how it works. So basically, as you know, I've never been into these types of products that you take for carbohydrates,
glucose disposal agents and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've just never bought into them because I didn't see them as important. Kind of back on the same line of what we were just talking about.
I will say that I always put cinnamon in my oatmeal from day one because I remember an old school bodybuilder said to me when I was really young, he's like, oatmeal is good for making your body use insulin properly. This was back in like 92 or something.
Right.
And so this like shows like some of the old guys were smart.
Right.
He's like,
ahead of their time.
Always put oatmeal. Always put cinnamon on your oatmeal. It's good. You know, it handle your blood sugar better.
Right.
Remember, that's all he had to say. And I was like, oh, okay. So for like 30 years, I put cinnamon on my oatmeal.
So yes, it's a GDA. And the reason I would tell people is it wasn't important in the grand scheme of all the things you could do. But what Michael, the owner of Condemned, did that made his different, where I went down and I told him, he was like, this is one of our best products. I'm like, I don't need it. And I'm like, it's not that important. Well, then I start looking at theirs. They have enzymes in there. Also, then of course I got to do a little reading. They're actually controlling how essentially the insulin is released into your system over time, which made it even more valuable. So now I actually use it. Every single carb meal I have over 50 grams, I use it. Because at the end of the day, one thing that's changed in my career as far as a coach is I'm obsessed with digestion. Now it's like, okay, swallowing it's not the end. How do we make sure it's getting used? And I do play more and more with blood sugar levels now. It's something I like to just look with clients and see. So definitely helpful, but the big kick on that one specifically for me is the digestive aids, and I can tell a difference. So what I suggest with people, don't take my word for it. Same thing I say with drugs. Try it, run it through, and just pay attention to how your stomach feels and looks. If you're doing it consistently, I think you'll be surprised and like it. So good option.
Here's a question for you. What do you think is the number one reason for especially female competitors, female clients especially, always hitting up with, I feel bloated. I feel bloated. I feel like I'm not digesting properly. And it's definitely way more common with the women. What do you think are the top factors?
I mean, the first thing that I look at now, well, number one, I start with water. I'm making sure their water intake's what it's supposed to be. But I'm actually huge now. It's something I do in the beginning with clients now is I do a lot of food allergy tests. Because I have found on accident that a lot of my clients are allergic to things I feed everyone. Egg whites, oatmeals, like mild allergies, stuff like that. But as far as across the board, I don't get a ton of that because I already have greens in their diets, already have enzymes in their diets. So if they're doing their things right, I don't have a big miss. What are you running into consistently?
Oh no, it's just a very common thing with women generally. Like, how often do you hear a guy say, you know, oh, my stomach is, it just seems like female clients and not even clients.
You're talking more about also not just digestion, but taking a shit.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
So a lot of that.
Just general gut problems is just so much more of an epidemic with females who are trying to change their physiques. It's just
hydration. Hydration is the biggest factor for sure. And that's why a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of you guys listening to this have noticed you have trouble the last week of prep, because I find people pull their water too soon. You know, they're also not, I mean, I can go into a long list of why that's stupid, but hydration is an enormous factor with that. Also, choosing the correct greens for your body is very, very key. I think it's funny that people blindly eat greens and don't pay attention to how they feel.
That's another thing. Like, I've had people say, and this isn't just women, this is everyone, but it happens with women. They'll be like, oh, I have so much gas and so much problems. I'm like, well, what are your vegetables? And they're like, well, broccoli and Brussels sprouts. And I'm like, God, like, you people have to stop eating this fucking stuff. It's terrible. Like, and another thing too that is more common, tends to be more common with women too, is their belief that vegetables are super healthy, so we should eat a lot of them.
Right.
Which is a lot more common with women. I run into that a lot more. Like, oh, I eat as many vegetables as I can. I'm like, okay, well, that's not always a good thing, because if you're eating the wrong veggies, you're just causing all this tons of distress.
Oh, like,
you know what I mean? And so there's just all these sort of factors, but a lot of it leads to like overconsumption of things that they think are good for them, and choosing the wrong veggies and all these sorts of things. You know what I mean? And it's funny, like Emily loves sushi with extra ginger.
Right.
So she loves extra ginger, but like she'll order an extra side cup of it. Right.
Right.
But then like, she's like, man, every time we go for sushi, I have like really like some stomach problems. And so I start reading and I'm like, oh, ginger is like hugely irritating. Like, it's not the sushi.
It's so obvious what the issue is. Yeah.
I just don't eat ginger. So I never looked it up.
Yeah.
So I went and looked it up, and they're like, oh, it's, you know, this and this, it's really good for this, really good for this. But if you eat a lot of it, it can do this and this and this. Like,
I'm always stunned though that people can't work backwards, because so we were out of town and Nikki's like, oh, I'm going to get Brussels sprouts. I was like, cool. I love them. She's like, cool. She's like, you're not eating them. I'm like, oh, I can't eat them. They taste amazing, but I will rip ass for the next hour and a half if I eat these things. Like, I knew that immediately. So when I used to be in prep, I would buy them sometimes knowing full well, like, these will make me feel blah, but I need something that tastes really good and it doesn't hurt me, but I'll definitely be gassy for an hour. So I'm like, I'll be by myself for the next hour or two. It'll be fine. The dogs are like, fuck. He got the Brussels sprouts again. But people don't, like you said, though, they don't notice that. Like, just barely, Courtney, my barber, she literally this weekend, she goes, decided to try broccoli. Won't do that again. I'm like, finally, someone with a brain that realized they changed one thing and it went sideways. So she's like, broccoli, this sucks. You know? Plus, I've never had somebody say to me, Dusty, you smell like green beans. But I've definitely smelled some people smelling like broccoli. And I'm like, bro, you stink like shit.
I've had a lot of, you know what? So someone asked me a good question. They said, what do you know about your body now that you didn't know when you were competing? And it really only happened like the last couple of preps. But as long as I just prep on white rice and green beans, I have no gas.
Me too.
Like next to no gas. I can eat oatmeal, white rice, green beans, no gas. Like, I am talking about where there's whole days where I'm not sure if I farted.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm the same.
But
I'm that year round, so I don't eat anything else.
Potatoes, yams, other veggies, you know, throw in some rice cakes, change up the carbs, things start happening.
I think you got to pay attention to that too, though. It's you know, Jordan pushes that all the time on his Q&As. People go, what do you think about DECA? And he's like, why does it fucking matter what I think? And people don't understand that he's not being a dick. He's being literal, because that's how I feel about food. Like, I can't have yams or sweet potatoes. They bloat me. I mean, my stomach gets distended visually.
Yeah.
It's not a scientific fact of yams and sweet potato. It's just me. But a white potato, totally fine.
Right.
Pay attention to what you eat and what happens, especially when you're switching things. Like, that's one thing I hate as a coach. I'll tell people at the end, please don't change anything that I can't see. Don't suddenly decide you want green peppers in your meals. We got like 2 weeks. Just eat the same shit. We're almost there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you change factors, you fuck things up. Like, same thing like about the Splenda question. People are like, aren't you worried about getting lean? I'm like, no, I've been having this amount the whole time. But if I was eating 2 Splenda a day and then all of a sudden I went to 12, there might be a change that's visually seen. And Chris goes, what's happening? Did you change anything? Nope, nothing. Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You know, you're all of a sudden bringing in all these artificial sweeteners you weren't doing before. Oh, this is good. This is easy. Does bro split, wisely built, make sense for a natty guy? I feel like push-pull legs is too high of a frequency for me.
Yeah, totally. It can make sense for him, for sure. I mean, there's so much fashion in this, Dusty. I've been around long enough to see these things come around like
fashion. It's so true.
Well, it's like the third time I've seen keto twice, maybe 3 times. I've seen it come around. You know what I mean? Like, so everyone's like, oh, the bro split, then the push pull and stuff. Like, this is all stuff that's coming around again. And it's a general shift of who's currently really good and who's currently giving out good information, and those people, their advices. It's just like how I mentioned, everyone was training like Dorian when he was the champ, and then when Ronnie was the champ, everyone wanted to do parking lot lunges.
Right.
There's so much of this comes around. At the end of the day, what do they have in common? They both trained real fucking hard, super consistently, had good mental attitudes, felt, acted, and carried themselves like champions, right?
Right.
So I mean, yeah, the bro split can work, but it only works if you make it work.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, you nailed so much of it right there that I think is accurate, is things just swing back through. Like, I hate the term bro split because it's just good bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's just
like,
how many days do you need to recover? That's it. Split your body up. Okay, let's go.
I mean, I am more currently, which I have no idea what Jordan's going to have me do, but I've been more on a bro split for the last couple of years because I was specifically trying to bring up certain body parts. And so I would neglect other things on purpose to put the focus into them. You couldn't do that on a push-pull leg. Now that I want a huge amount of size, I'm sure I'm going to be right back on a progressive overload plan, because I told him straight up, I don't care where it lands. I just want to get fucking big. This isn't bodybuilding anymore. Like, I'm doing something different. I just want to get as big as I possibly can. Let's do that. So yeah, you got to find what works for you. And then I don't even think it's the frequency. When someone says the push-pull leg frequency is too high, my immediate kickback to that would be, I bet you your volume of those workouts is too high.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
a happy medium.
And it's a way to get to the same spot. The point is not even that he's wrong, but if you're following a bro split volume, but now you're hitting it more often by doing push-pull legs, it's too much. And I tell my clients, it's funny, but I send out a routine, which you and I have talked about this before, I have about 4 routines that are stock that I start with on all my clients. I'm always really upfront about that because it seems cut and paste. It is. You're 195 pounds. You don't need anything special yet. I'll figure out what that is in 6 months. And I'll tell them right in the beginning, I'm feeling this out. This volume might be too high for you. It might be perfect. We're going to find out. Because when I send, that's a pretty common one for like, intermediate bodybuilders I send out. I'm like, that would destroy me. The way I train, I'd tap out so fast. The volume's just way too high. So, it's definitely not the push-pull leg. It's the issue, but, it is frequency. Oh, this is a good one. This is important to know. And I don't know the answer to this. What's your go-to drink at a bar?
Oh, well, I mean, 99% of the time it's just Diet Coke. I mean, I never order booze.
No, but if you had booze.
If I had to, I would order a vodka diet.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or I would have a shot of Jack with someone and then just drink my Diet Coke.
Just the quick. I like that. I am a Mexican mule if I'm doing a drink. Obviously, everybody knows I drink wine. But and all that is a Moscow mule, but instead it's got tequila. Because I like tequila and I hate vodka.
There
Not
you go.
a good thing. I literally just heard when I said that out loud, I heard Alan on The Hangover. Do you remember that? When he's like, how do you even know that tigers like pepper? They love pepper. They hate cinnamon.
Yes.
Why do you know that?
I love pepper. They hate cinnamon.
I always thought that was the greatest. Like, that to me was one of the funniest part of that entire movie, the way he said it, like, so absolute. Like, they love pepper. They hate cinnamon. They tell you that?
Yes.
Okay, good. That was good shit.
You got one more?
I have so many.
I know.
Oh, here's a good one. We're going to give you one that I would like your answer on anyways, and then we'll call it a day. Do you use carb backloading on your clients, on yourself and or your clients?
No.
Me neither.
No.
I love it. That's my full answer. No.
No. Sorry.
I think with those questions, you guys, what you're getting back to is complicating something that doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I had a client the other day ask me, this client has 3 different amounts of carbs.
Mm-hmm.
They have, I can't remember what they are, but let's just say it's like 200 on days off, 300 on training days, and 500 on leg day. Which
Right,
is
yeah.
once a week or something like that. I've got them set up on 3 different days of carbs.
Mm-hmm.
And they said to me, hey, everything's going really well and I'm getting leaner, but I would really like to start carb staggering.
You are.
And I was like, oh, well, you are. And they went, oh, well, no, because there's 2 days a week I'm on lower carbs. And then there's 4 days a week I'm on medium carbs.
Medium. Yeah,
and then there's 1 day a week I'm on high carbs. And I go, yeah. And they're like, well, yeah, but carb staggering is supposed to be low, medium, high, low, medium, high, low, medium, high, low, medium, high.
No.
And I was like, no, like, where do you people get this? I'm like,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it is funny because I was literally, when you said that, he wants to carb stagger, I'm like, so you're doing that. Good job.
yeah, it's not uncommon. It's not like it's one person I've had that conversation with. Some people think carb staggering is like a certain thing that is done a certain way. It's like, no, it's just a varying amount of carbohydrate intake. It could be done a million different ways. And then I had a client one time that was like, they were the type of person that gets in shape. Like they can have a cheat meal every week.
Yeah.
They can Sunday can be like a high day. They can go out for dinner with the wife, the whole prep, their glutes are shredded. They're just one of those people. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, I think you think I'm going to need to like do some carb staggering? And I'm like, well, you're on like, X grams of carbs. And then on Sunday you have like 1,000 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, but I thought carb staggering was like, and I'm like, you're already carb staggering. Like it's
funny.
It's the amount of like rigidness that some people think there's a certain perfect way to do things.
Well, you also have to so it's funny. I just saw this on Lane Norton's page yesterday, so I'm actually going to read it, but it's very funny. You're talking about why diets work. And right, because everyone's got a magic diet on how they work. And
is this the one where it listed all the
keto
different diets?
Reduces your calories by removing an entire macronutrient. Paleo reduces your calories by causing you to focus on nutrient-rich, satisfying foods. Intermittent fasting reduces your calories by giving you less time to eat. Zone reduces your calories by filling up with vegetables and low-carb fruits. The point is, all these diets work because they lowered your calories. But none of them are actually boosting your metabolism. You're just eating less.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as this, where everyone's like, no, the best diet is this. I'm like, it's the same.
Yeah.
You lowered your calories. That's why you changed it. I'm not saying a calorie is a calorie. Don't get me wrong. But to a point, when it comes to gaining and or losing just the word weight,
right,
it is. So it's just funny because I love when he breaks. He's one of my favorites. He's such a dick because he's so accurate and smart. But the funniest part is it's actually also simple. Like everyone wants to argue it, but it's like, no, it's literally this easy. You lowered your calories. or on your carb cycling. No, but you have 3 different carb numbers in a week. You are carb cycling. Forget everything else. Oversimplify. I think that's the magic of bodybuilding, is if you oversimplify.
You generally lowered your calories over time.
Yep. That's as complex as it gets. But I think because of this and everyone's need to create a
brand, a gimmick.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody wants to, and it's funny because people will ask me, they're like, how do you, what would you say you do? I say, I provide results. How?
Right.
Don't know.
Help people avoid mistakes.
Yeah. I'm going to get you to your results, and I can't tell you today how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get you there.
Yeah.
I have no idea what thing is going to work for you, even if I've worked for you in the past. I mean, you know this. We've said this a million times. There was the second year I worked with Chris, I actually laughed because I realized, and I actually asked him, I said, you don't keep track of what I did before, huh? He goes, oh, no, when you're done, I throw away the paperwork.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. Because my diets weren't even the same. Like, you would think I had a different coach.
Yeah.
Like, it was that different, And it's the same reason, because he'll ask, and I know my clients get annoyed by this sometimes, in a flash of a text or something, I'll be like, what are you on right now? And they're like, you don't know? I'm like, no. I mean, it's written down, but I'm driving in my car.
Yeah,
Same
I
with
could
Chris,
search through the chat and find it, but yeah.
So it's funny because that's how Chris is. I've had preps. When I did the USAs the first year, I was eating 10 slices of bread a day.
You know what else? You know what else Chris said to me? I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
You remember what Chris said to me one time? I go, hey, do you sometimes just ask people what they're doing to keep them honest? And he goes, you know what? He goes, there's lots of times I ask people, what are you doing? And I kind of know what they're doing, but I'm trying to confirm, and they tell me what they're doing. I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, there's no way I wrote that. I wouldn't.
And then he'll
that.
go back and look, and it's like They're trying to pull a fast one. They're like, no, I had carbs in meal 4. And then he goes back and looks. He's like, no, you didn't.
It's funny because I'm wired so different. Like, I would never even think of that. And
Right.
I've learned some things, back to the simplicity of it. And I'm sure Chris has told you this, but he has a theory with some people, not everybody, that when their carbs get lower, he thinks that their body might get into super protein synthesis, because randomly they'll start to improve and get bigger.
Yeah,
and
well,
I'm that way. Jose's that way, where I'll start gaining weight, and I'm on 50 grams of carbs for weeks.
I think there's a weird zone where your insulin sensitivity is so good, and you're still eating enough that you can be anabolic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, and then you have anabolics, so yeah.
Well, yeah, like the drugs are sort of suspending your muscle building ability, even though you're on less calories in deficit or whatever.
Right.
But there's like a weird zone that I feel like everyone who's done enough shows at a high enough level has sort of been through that, like, your hack squats going up, and you're dieting, and you're like
I'm
feeling
breaking
really
every record
strong.
During
like
prep.
You're, laying back with dumbbells, and you're like, okay, this is a good day, like that weird stuff. And I think we all go through that, but or hopefully you go through it at least once so you can see what it's like. It's pretty crazy.
Because you'll love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You just you wonder, why can't life just go on like this? I know what you mean. I know.
Yeah, it's classic.
So what do you think, Dusty? That's I think we did okay today.
I think we did. I think we're going to keep at least 5 listeners for sure.
I didn't put up a question thing because we always do that, right? And I thought, Dusty, I saw you put one up. I'm like, I'm just going to leave his.
Yeah,
we'll see. So maybe next week I'll do one. So
yeah, there was a ton, and now what I'm doing, I think I told you, is I answer all of these still, or shouldn't say all. That's a lie. I try to answer 50 is my number in my head, because it's humbling and nice that I literally will get hundreds. I just can't. But it is good to see, and I do typically I'll answer some I've answered regularly, again and again and again, because I realize that not all of my followers have been here the whole time. So it's new to them. So, but yeah, solid episode night, and I am going to try to get us. I'd like to maybe like every third episode have a guest.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about a couple that we're going to bring on, so let's line that up for, I guess 2 episodes from now.
Yep. You just go ahead and get a hold of your porn friends, and let's get this going. I mean,
rock and roll. Okay. Is that what you really want, Dusty? You want a porn friend?
They do.
You're the
been
one that
asking.
lives in the States.
They've been asking. They're your friends.
Associates.
Associates, I'm sorry. Classic.
Okay. Thanks. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell. Think Big Bodybuilding for the audio feed. So remember to tell everyone if they can't find the show. That's it, Dusty. Another episode, number 87 in the books.
Time to eat.
Okay, same here. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.